she re-engineers Destileria Limtuaco in launching proudly Filipino liquor while maintaining the integrity and product quality of the oldest distillery in the Philippines.
She is Olivia Limpe-aw. She believes that being a woman in what is usually a man's world has its challenges.
And this was especially true coming from a traditional Chinese family where the culture puts preference on the male heirs.
But none of this dissuaded her from driving the business to the top, noting that being a woman is her strength. 所以呢，我们现在有请
Probably the only thing harder than getting a new business in the air is keeping a 162-year-old business aloft. It doesn't get any easier if you have to be the boss when you're just in your 20s and at the same time be Chinese female in a male-dominated industry. 她就是 Olivia Limpe-aw, Destileria Limtuaco and Corporation 的总裁，菲律宾唯一的中英商务杂志亚洲飞龙的出版者。
So, what was it like when you were starting off? Din si Asian Dragon magazine.
It's quite difficult, no? Because it's the first time that we will come out with a magazine for the Chinese community. But in the beginning, we have to really establish our credibility and integrity. And it was really more to convince people that it's okay to come out in a magazine.
So, was it your dream ever since to come up with the magazine?
Actually, no. It wasn't. I had no idea. I had no plans really, and it just came as an opportunity, a business opportunity. But I never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine I would go into publishing. So it's sometimes, things happen for a reason. An opportunity is presented to you, and it's up to you if you want to grab it or you want to let the opportunity pass.
What are the other challenges that you faced when you were starting?
Well, of course, aside from the people that you're featuring, their reservations and they're not being comfortable being featured, the other side of it in a magazine publishing is convincing your advertisers. Mm-hmm. So on the one hand, you have to convince the people to be featured. You have to create nice stories, interesting stories for the readers to want to read the magazine. And then, of course, when you have your readership base, then the advertisers come in. So it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. But in between, you have to do everything that you can to make sure that you are a viable concern. Your venture is viable and that you have enough, as they say, mahaba PC mo, di ba? You have enough financial capability to tide you through this time that your advertisers aren't really there yet, no? So I think that's one of the biggest challenges of magazine publishing.
Then in her early teens, Olivia Limpe-aw graduated to being errand girl. In high school, she took on clerical jobs and accompanied her father to meetings. 正在菲律宾国立大学念商科的她，被升职到出纳员。也同时在会计部门学会了准备收据。
So with all the challenges that you face, what keeps you driven or what keeps you going on until today, the success of Asian Dragon?
I think for me, the biggest driver, the biggest reason why I try so hard is when I receive feedback and comments from the readers that they enjoy reading the magazine. That is really the biggest satisfaction and the biggest reason why we're still here today.
Of all the cover people that you featured in your magazine, is there a certain criteria din siya like why din ba featured and din Hong Bin? It's why very, I think, high society people or very VIP Chinese?
Well, first and foremost, I think what people expect, dapat sandi lang, businessman, no? They like successful business people. Actually, they're all my favorites. It's because each one has a different story to tell. So you can't really compare apples to apples. Each is an interesting person in itself. So I would say that all of them deserve really the cover and the magazine.
So is there a certain business strategy that you followed and worked really well with the marketing of Asian Dragon magazine?
Well, first and foremost, you must know your market. because when you know your market, then everything flows naturally. You know what to put in the magazine, you know what type of stories they want to read, you know what your advertisers want to target. If you know your market, is half of the battle is won. And then of course, you have to know your numbers. Make sure that you're viable, you don't lose money, know your costing. And of course, it's also important that you establish your credibility and integrity so you have long-term business.
Today, Olivia Limpe-aw is steering the company into the challenges of the 21st century. 她重新设计公司，电脑改成为业务系统很大的部分，也并且利用现代化的营销和生产技术。
How are you as a wife and as a mother?
We know that when we have the very few times that we have, we must make the most of it. So we may not have so much time together, but then my children are also involved in the business. So we see each other a lot, you know, in business and at home. But we make it a point that like every so often we do trips.
So going back into the business, is there a formula of success that you think na okay, kailangan may ganito ka bago mag-work in business mo or for you to become a successful person?
If you want to be in business, you have to be really dedicated. I mean, you should really, business talaga, you never give up. Once you give up, you're out of the game. You must be really, really passionate about it, hardworking.
According to her, to succeed in business or in your career, you need to be a jack of all trades and an expert in your field. You need to work hard. Learn to accept that being in business is practically 24/7.
Find a niche where there's no player yet. Then you can own that niche, no? Even for business, actually, any business, if there's too many players, it's difficult to survive. Don't go to big time if you don't have the finances. Start small and grow it. If you have all of those and you're hardworking and you know you do what you have to do, I think you can be a successful business person.